Friends, let me tell you about something truly amazing. It's at the core of Jesus' teachings. I'm talking about forgiveness. Jesus spoke about it more than almost anything else. He knew how important it was for our hearts and souls. Forgiveness is the key to unlocking a life of joy and peace. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you felt weighed down by anger or resentment? But Jesus offers us a way to put that burden down. He teaches us to forgive, not just once or twice, but over and over again. When we forgive, we're not just helping others, we're helping ourselves too. We're freeing our hearts from the chains of bitterness. Remember, forgiveness isn't always easy, but it's one of the most rewarding. When we choose to forgive, we're following in Jesus' footsteps. Now let's talk about one of Jesus' most powerful teachings on forgiveness. It's found in the Gospel of Matthew. Peter asked Jesus how many times he should forgive someone who sins against him. He suggests 7 times, thinking that's pretty generous. But Jesus' response is truly extraordinary. Not 7 times, but 70 times 7. Jesus was teaching us that there should be no limit to our forgiveness. 70 times 7 isn't about counting to 490. It's about forgiveness without end. This teaching challenges us to go beyond our natural instincts. Remember, friends, God's forgiveness for us is limitless. He forgives us completely every single time we ask, and He calls us to do the same for others. The Bible is full of powerful stories of forgiveness. One of the most famous is the story of Joseph. His own brothers sold him into slavery, but years later, when he had the power to punish them, he chose to forgive instead. Joseph's forgiveness changed everything. It healed his family and saved many lives. Then there's the story of David and Saul. Saul tried to kill David multiple times, but when David had the chance to take revenge, he didn't. Instead, he showed mercy. This act of forgiveness eventually led to peace. Jesus himself gave us the ultimate example of forgiveness. Even as he was being crucified, he prayed for those who were killing him. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. These biblical examples aren't just nice stories, they're challenges to us. They show us what's possible when we choose forgiveness over resentment. They inspire us to live differently. Let me share with you some modern-day examples of forgiveness. These stories will touch your heart. One that always moves me is the story of Corrie ten Boom. She survived a Nazi concentration camp. Years later, she came face to face with one of the guards. In that moment, she chose to forgive him. Her act of forgiveness brought healing not just to her, but to the guard as well. Then there's the story of Anthony Thompson. His wife was killed in the Charleston church shooting. At the shooter's bond hearing, Anthony did something incredible. He forgave the man who had taken his wife's life. His words of forgiveness sparked a movement of reconciliation in his community. It showed how one act of forgiveness can have a ripple effect. I've seen forgiveness work miracles in marriages too. I remember counseling a couple on the brink of divorce, but when they chose to forgive each other, everything changed. These stories remind us that forgiveness isn't just a nice idea, it's a force that can change lives. Now you might be thinking, that all sounds great, but how do I actually do it? Practicing forgiveness is like building a muscle. It takes time and effort, but the more you do it, the stronger you become. Start small. Maybe it's forgiving someone for a minor slight. Maybe it's letting go of a grudge you've held onto for too long. Remember, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to release the anger and resentment. It means freeing yourself from the burden of bitterness. Start by praying for the person who hurt you. Ask God to help you see them through His eyes. Practice self-forgiveness too. Sometimes the person we need to forgive most is ourselves. We all make mistakes. But God's grace is bigger than our failures. When you stumble, don't beat yourself up. This self-compassion will make it easier to extend forgiveness to others. Friends, when we choose forgiveness, we're not just changing our own lives. We're changing the world around us. When you forgive someone, you're breaking a cycle of hurt. You're choosing love over hate. You're creating a ripple effect of kindness and compassion. That ripple can spread far beyond what you can see. Forgiveness has the power to heal families, it can mend broken friendships, it can bring peace to communities torn apart by conflict. When we forgive, we're showing others that there's another way. We're demonstrating the transformative power of love. Imagine a world where forgiveness was the norm, where people chose compassion over revenge. That's the world Jesus invites us to create. And it starts with each one of us. Every time we choose to forgive, we're taking a step towards that world.